Before I start the movie, I would like to tell you that we miss you, my friend. Our movie today is a state of action and sci-fi. All you have to do is be patient in the beginning to enjoy the end, and now fasten your seatbelts and get ready for the movie.
A prison in the United States is holding an angry prisoner. The reason his eyes were filled with killing was that his heart was filled with hatred. 6 months ago, Jason still had a happy family. His wife is lovely and caring, and looking at the future of a newborn is full of expectations. But when his wife was preparing dinner, masked bandits suddenly appeared. When Jason realized something was wrong, his wife was already dying. The cunning bandits sprayed LSD and fled with great arrogance. When Jason wakes up, he finds the murder weapon in his hand, and the place is coincidentally surrounded by police. In this way, Jason was treated as the murderer of his wife and sentenced to 50 years in prison. On Christmas Eve, Jason is sent to a special prison. The prison is under 24-hour guard to prevent prisoners from escaping. The prison is built on the sea, and there is only one way in and out, because in this prison, all of them are the most vicious criminals, and everyone's hands are covered in blood. On this day, Jason wanted to have a quiet breakfast, but someone wanted to find trouble, not only spitting out the dinner plate but also insulting his wife. The other party didn't know that he had messed with the wrong person this time. After the fight, Jason is brought before Julie, who controls the entire prison and is a relentless dictator. In order to turn prisoners into assets, he coordinates flying car races. Prisoners on death row become drivers who drive modified race cars to kill each other. If someone can win 5 races in a row, they will be pardoned and leave prison. The track is packed with HD cameras and the race is broadcast live to a global audience. In the previous race, masked driver Frank with superpowers won 3 races in a row. In the 4th race, Frank suffered a mechanical failure and was targeted mercilessly by his opponents. Although he won the race but succumbed to severe injuries, Julie urgently suppressed news of Frank's death to avoid low ratings. She desperately needs a strong prisoner to take Frank's place and continue the competition. Jason is the perfect candidate for this job. Jason is reluctant at first, but Julie's offer is better than turning him down, and Jason will be forgiven as long as he wins the 5th game by pretending to be Frank. After the deal was sealed, Jason came to the workshop in high spirits and met the team's coach and technician, Fatty. The race car was ready, with a high-powered engine that could blast out 850 horsepower. In order to avoid accidents, the car is also equipped with nitrogen acceleration, and the racing defense is also very strong. The front and side are 2 cm steel plate bulletproof glass, clear Chinese manufacturing, and the rear is 15 cm thick steel armor. In addition, the vehicle is also equipped with smoke bombs and even incendiary bombs. And then with 2 multi-barreled Gatling machine guns, it can truly be called a very powerful performance. From the mouth of the coach, the flying car race is divided into 3 matches. The first 2 matches to kill as many opponents as possible, to ensure that they pass the finish line. Who can win the 3rd match to be considered the real champion? Jason's main opponents are 5 people, respectively: Chinese-American Green, Jim, former professional racing driver Colt, and Jake, Julie. In order to make a living, will each race out of the women's prison, selecting the gorgeous, beautiful inmates to serve as the racer's navigator. Jason's navigator, Keith, is more powerful and has helped Frank save the day several times. Confronted by Keith, Jason did not want to hide his identity and took the initiative to remove his mask to start the race. When the lights started to flash, the participants looked excited. The global live stream was also launched, with over 45 million people paying to watch. Jason takes the lead with the ground gas, and the rest of the team quickly takes off. The pack begins to rampage and Jason quickly loses his position. In 4th, Keith calmly ordered a shortcut, and Jason hit the gas at the intersection to take the lead again. The race came down to the 2nd lap and Julie ordered the sensors to activate, triggering gunfire, smoke bombs, napalm and traps. Jason lacked experience in his first race and failed to activate the weapons, so the enemy caught him behind the car and fired wildly with Gatling machine guns. But the driver's skills were really poor, and in return, Green, who was excited at this point, found it broken. He was looking at the Colt in front of him, who didn't want to be killed and rushed to escape from the steel spikes to launch a counterattack. Green was unable to dodge the immediate flat tire. The car lost control and began to roll, and 14K saw just the right time to send a rocket. The car exploded and crashed straight to the ground. Green got out of the car and began spitting perfume toward the camera, but in the next second it shattered to pieces. In the last lap of the race, Jake is equipped with a giant Gatling. The power is really amazing, coupled with the chasing Colt. Jason's armor was in tatters. Jason told Keith to empty the petrol bomb, using the passenger ejector seat, and he detonated the petrol bomb high, and oil suddenly gushed out, covering the entire car. Without waiting for Colt's reaction, Case had already thrown the cigarette lighter and the car instantly caught fire. After a fierce struggle, Jason always takes first place, thinks he has won and stops on the side of the road, and finally finishes 6th. The car also became a lot of holes. See the horror of the race. Jason clearly said not to participate. Julie was up for it and pulled out a picture of Jason's baby and threatened him, so Jason was forced to compromise again. That night he came to the workshop in anger. He wanted to ask Jim for an explanation, but he was ready. Jason was caught off guard and tied around his neck, and Jim was casual, swinging a large pelican to kill. But the next second, sharp pain from behind. It turns out, got to my Fat just in time. While the other party tortured Fatty, Jason picked up the steel block and began to counterattack. Jim wears Jason's opponent. He can only explain the truth about his wife's murder. The company's main business is to provide a wide range of products and services to the market. Unfortunately, a prison guard suddenly appeared and electrocuted Jason to save Jim. The second race took place as scheduled when everyone rushed out of the starting position. However, Jason does not panic and drives to the abandoned workshop, where he threatens to take Keith out to force a larger plot, which turns out to be Keith being undercover for Julie. She orders a loop around Jason to prevent Jason from winning the race, thus keeping him imprisoned and making more money for Julie. In exchange, Jolie will sign a decree to release the case. But now, Keith had no choice but to cooperate. He had nothing to worry about. Jason turns on the nitrous acceleration to get back on the racetrack, but it no longer goes to the pole position. Instead, he set his sights on Jim, murdered his wife, turned his car around and fired on all cylinders. Jim starts shooting wildly at each other until he presses the shield to activate the smoke grenade. Obscured from view by smoke, Jim dodged and crashed badly. Since Pyrite High was not killed by the accident, Jason immediately reversed his car and drove back. Meanwhile, Julie, in order to make the race more exciting, sends in a large killer called Dreadnought. The Dreadnought was armed with heavy firepower and began pouring ammunition on the cavalry. Time flames everywhere explode. 2 drivers died under the shell. More exaggeration, the armored vehicle is also equipped with a regeneration device. Once the tire was punctured, there was no way to escape, and in the face of the thick cannon, 14K could only die of hatred. The two are forced to overtake the car and zip through the skeleton to activate the trap. In fact, they are ready to kill Jason. It's convenient to plant a bomb on Jason's race car. Later that night, Jason reaches out to Jake with a very bold plan. Soon the third race arrives and Julie without borders, so to speak, to prevent Jason from winning. She controls the sensor system and allocates all resources to Jake. With loads of gear, Jake pours crazy fire on Jason and sees the tail armor pierced. Jason took a risk removing the shield, but Jake's extreme response to avoid the effect was followed by Jake firing a series of missiles. The target is not Jason's car, but the prison wall. To blow up the gap, the two begin to break out of the prison one by one. It turns out that Jason and Jake were acting to cripple Julie, an angry Julie for detonating the explosives. But not thinking that the bomb was defused long ago by the bus, Jason dumps his spare fuel tank and stops a large number of chasing police cars on the bridge. The helicopter in the sky followed closely. Jason took the initiative to cover Jake, lured the helicopter to the dock, and jumped out of the car into the night. It turns out that Keith has already received a release order and will be safe and sound even if he is caught. With Keith's help, Jason and Jake managed to get together, escaping by train. On the other hand, Julie learned. 6 months later, Jason and Jake show up in Mexico and open an auto repair shop. Keith also travels there soon after, and Jason not only gets his kids back but also new friends and love. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can see a video like this. Thanks for watching.
Baby, you